computing. So cloud computing now is a model that enables organization access their services such as compute, networking, and storage over the internet. Let me break this cloud computing down. So when we say cloud computing, it's not more or less like it's actually everything is in the air. So this computing area is more or less like, maybe for instance now you have an organization. So in your organization you have servers running locally. So this cloud computing platform now is more or less like they want to help you manage the local infrastructure that you have running your environments. Like Microsoft now, they have Azure, which is their cloud platform. And what they do is, instead of you to buy those servers, they have those data centers in different regions whereby you can just pay for their service and rent their their resources and use. So as we proceed to the class, we are going to see the benefits and the use cases, but in an easy way. Cloud computing is simply a way of accessing resources. Let me give an example. Let's say, for instance, now you have your computer. We all are familiar with our computers. We have HP, we have Dell, we have different computers. So let's say, for instance, now you are traveling to UK, and let's say peradventure you get to the airport and probably you are being asked to reduce some luggage, and maybe you are carrying like up to 3 or 4 laptops with you. Automatically you have to drop one. But with cloud computing, you don't need to carry your systems. Those systems that you have those systems that you have, you can access them in the cloud, whereby anywhere you are, you can connect to them, which we are going to practicalize using a virtual machine. So a virtual machine is just like a normal computer that we have, like a normal PC that we can go to Ikeja and buy. That is a normal computer. Then the virtual one is the one you have in the cloud. Why for the networking? The networking is more or less like in an environment now, you need network to share resources for communication with different computers. In Azure too, they have their own virtual network. So in the cloud, everything is more or less like virtual, meaning that we can't see them, but they exist somewhere. So they have storage as well. So with storage, you can buy cloud storage and you can equally manage your storage in the cloud. So let's go to private cloud now. When we talk about private cloud now is a cloud-based platform that is owned by an organization. Let's say your organization now, they have their own servers in their own data centers. Everything is managed by the organization. That means the organization is operating on private cloud. There are so many organizations today that operate on private cloud. They are not using any data center. They are not patronizing any cloud platform. So example of the cloud platform we have Google and we have AWS, and we have other cloud platforms, but most of the popular ones are Microsoft, which is Azure, AWS, and Google. So if you are hosting your own data center, now it means that you are the one paying for all the costs. You are responsible for operating the services, and you are the one managing it. So people outside cannot access what you have in your private cloud. So most organizations like banks, they believe in private cloud. They don't want to take their data center outside to any cloud environment because of how precious the information they keep are. So that's for private cloud. So the key takeaway is a private cloud is more or less like a cloud that is owned and managed by an organization, whereby you buy your servers, you manage your servers, you manage your network, everything. You have no business with the cloud. Everything you are doing is local. So the next one we have is public cloud. So public cloud now, it is owned by cloud services or hosting providers. So if I'm too fast, am I too fast? Or should I slow down a bit?
Continue.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So public cloud now, it is owned by cloud service or hosting providers. When we say cloud service, I made mention of three popular cloud services, such as Microsoft, AWS, and Google. So all these are cloud services. It's more or less like the organization now, they are handing over their infrastructure to those cloud environment to help them manage it. So like you can see on the pictorial diagram, we can see we can see a hand going up. So what it means is that you are giving your infrastructure. This is your computer now that ideally you are supposed to manage in infrastructure. So you are handing it over to the cloud, to Microsoft or Google to help you manage it. So you don't want to have those costs like paying for AC, paying for like resources. So when we go, we are going to see some benefits of using using private cloud and even using public cloud. So in a nutshell, this provide resources and services to multiple organizations. So what it means is that since it's public, everybody have access to it. The only way you can access it is via secure network communication over the internet. So without internet, you cannot access your cloud resources. So if you have resources in the cloud now, hosted in any public cloud, you need internet to access it. Just like example now, some of us that have our files in Google, maybe we're using Google Drive to save our documents. Automatically, if you want to access your document, you need an internet to access it. But it is secured. You know, you can access it anytime, any day. So that's for public cloud. So let's move to the next one now, which is hybrid cloud. So for hybrid now, if we are following the presentation, we will see that these two pictures is the one by the left is the one by the left is public cloud, while the one by the right is private cloud. So hybrid is the combination of public and private. So it allows you to run your applications. The one you want to be hosted locally, you run it locally, and the one you want to be hosted in the cloud, you run it in the cloud. Example of hybrid cloud is some organizations now, the only thing they do in the cloud is they manage their messaging, such as they use Microsoft 365. Like they use Microsoft 365 to manage their collaboration and communication in their organization. But aside that, everything they do is local. Like their servers, their data centers, everything is local. So they have no business with any, they have no business with public cloud. So in hybrid, now what it means is that the organization is combining private and public. So you can run your application you want to be hosted locally, and you can also run applications you want to be hosted in the cloud. Like the example I gave now, let's say, for instance, now the organization, they have some applications that they built, and they don't want this application to be exposed to the internet. They want it to be local, so they can host it in their private cloud, while some that they want to be accessed over the public internet, such as their emails, their files, such as their OneDrive and their Gmail. So if they want to access it over the internet, they can now say, okay, I don't want to manage that service in my environment. I want Microsoft or Google to help me handle that services. So that is hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud is the combination of private and public. So let's see the cloud model comparison. So this is bringing the three cloud models together. So the first one we have on the list is public cloud. So with public cloud, there is no capital expenditure to scale up. When we say no capital expenditure to scale up, let's give this example. Let's say, for instance, now you have a server that is 64 gig RAM, and it's four cores, and let's say the hard drive is 4 TB. Maybe, for instance, now you want to scale up. We all know that if you want to scale up in a private cloud, you need to call an expert. First of all, the expert will first of all charge you. Okay, this is the amount I will charge you to scale up your infrastructure. Then they will not give you cost. Okay, the cost for the hard drive, the cost for the RAM, and the cost to add more cores to your servers. But in public cloud, there's no capital expenditure when you want to scale up. While for hybrid cloud, it provides the most flexibility, because you can decide to run anyone you want to run locally or anyone you want to run in the cloud. So the next one is, in public cloud, application can be provisioned and deprovisioned quickly, which we are going to see. Let's take, for instance, now you want to provision an application in a public cloud. It doesn't take time. It's just more or less like you want to deploy a resources in Azure. If you want to deploy resources in Azure, it will take you more or less like, let's say, depending on the resources you are deploying. If you are deploying a virtual machine, maximum it can take you 10 to 15 minutes, but some resources can take up to more than that, depending on how heavy it is. So the next one we are going to look at is, for private cloud, organizations have complete control over their resources and security. So in private cloud now, you as an organization, you have control over everything. Your resources, both the security of your resources, you are the one in charge. While for hybrid cloud, organizations determine where to run their applications. That is why it is hybrid. If you want to run your application locally, you run it. If you want to run it in the cloud, you run it. So the next one, for public cloud, organization pay only for what they use. Why I like this pay for what you use model is, let's say for instance now, in your organization now, you buy systems for your staffs. Automatically, there are some times where those systems are lying idle, nobody is using it, or maybe like nobody's using it. But in the cloud, anytime the resources is not being used, you can turn it off. Automatically, you are not paying for it. So it is pay for what you use. Anything you are not using, you don't pay for it. So why for private cloud, organizations are responsible for hardware maintenance and upgrade. We know that maintaining our private cloud, it is not easy. Sometimes organizations can call you for cable management, they can call you for different tasks. Those maintenance is expensive. But if you are hosting your platforms in the cloud, you don't do that. Microsoft will manage their data centers for you, because any service you want, they will rent it to you. So this cloud is more or less like Microsoft is renting their data centers to you to use, host your application, use it, and pay for what you use. While in this other hand, the organization controls security and compliance or legal requirement. So most organizations prefer hybrid so that they can have more flexibility to what they want to do. So that's for hybrid cloud. I don't know if anybody have any question before we go. If you have any questions, so that we can just trash it before we go to the next stage of the class. So does anybody have any question?
No, sir, I don't have any question.
Okay, okay. I guess we can just proceed. So this brings us to the next aspect, which is compare CAPEX and OPEX expenditure. So the capital expenditure now is what you spend initially when you want to set up an organization. Let's take, for instance, now, I want to set up a company and I want to compare the cost. So I will look at the money I'm going to spend in buying my resources. So, and in setting up a company, if it's a standard company, IT is the first thing you consider. So first of all, you look at the cost of buying servers. Some of those servers are very expensive, depending on the brand you want to buy. So by the time you calculate all these things, it may be up to, like, let's say up to 10 or 20 million, depending on how large you want your infrastructure to be. So that is the capital expenditure. But in operational expenditure, you only spend on products and services as they are needed. It is pay as you go. So you get billed immediately for operational expenditures. While for capital expenditure, it comes from the value of the resources and it reduces over time. Why this capital expenditure reduces over time is that at the initial stage, that is when you spend the money. But for coming into cloud, it's better when you are starting, because you don't need to buy those expensive equipments. So those, instead of you to buy it, you can rent from Microsoft, then you pay daily for what you use or what you consume. So let's go to the next class. So the next one now we are going to look at is cloud-based models. So for cloud-based model, what it means is that you only pay for resources that you use. So there's no upfront cost. So what you don't use, you don't pay for. You don't need to purchase and manage costly infrastructure that may not be used to its full extent. When we talk about costly infrastructure that may not be used to a full extent, there are some organizations that they have bought a lot of materials and they did not even use it. But if all these things are in the cloud, it can be well managed. So cloud gives you the ability to pay for additional resources when they are needed. Let's take, for instance, now Jumia. If they are hosting their resources in Microsoft now, all their servers are running in Microsoft data center. If they are having Black Friday, automatically the traffic will be much hitting their website. All they need to do is to just go and scale up in the cloud. Okay, they will just need to add more virtual machine as the demand is going high, it increases. But imagine maybe you are doing it locally. So it's going to be a drag for your IT administrators, because even your users may be like, why is this thing slow? Why are we having this issue? But if it's in the cloud, it is automatic. As the demand is going high, it goes higher. And at the end of the day, when demands come down, it comes down. So you don't need to like worry about any other thing. Let's take, for instance, now an example. Let's say the demand is going high, you go and buy resources, and the demand now come down. Automatically, those resources, you won't use them again. So one of the advantage of cloud is that you don't need to buy anything. Once you are having high demand, you increase, you scale up. Once you're having low demand, it automatically scales down. So so the ability to stop paying for resources that are no longer needed, it is very possible in the cloud. Any resources you don't need, you can stop paying for it. That's one benefit of cloud-based consumption model. So cloud-based consumption model is more or less like you only pay for what you use. You don't need to purchase and manage costly infrastructure. You don't need all that. Everything you need is already provisioned for you in the cloud. All you just need is just your subscription. Come and pay and manage all this. So cloud. It's more or less like the services you run locally. They are now telling you, instead of you to use it locally, come and have them in the cloud. Instead of you to go and be buying all those things initially, come and have them and pay for them gradually as you use them, as